Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this UkeGuide review of the Koa Kalane solid top Acacia, laminate Acacia back and sides concert ukulele. Now, just to let you know about this instrument, someone on Facebook in one of the many different ukulele groups that I follow posted about this instrument and said it was amazing. And they also said that it was a full Koa model, and they mentioned that it was an incredible deal. So of course I had to take a look. And when I looked, the website clearly says Acacia Koa. Now I know some people get confused about that. I know some other people wish that it didn't say, Koa on there. People do get confused about that, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad ukulele or a bad tone wood. It just isn't Koa. Koa is a very special wood. It's a special branch of acacia that only grows in Hawaii, and special tonal qualities happen with that wood that is fostered in that environment. And that's why koa is so valuable right now. The only way to get koa is when one falls down. I think it's actually protected in Hawaii. Then they can harvest it. And there are companies such as Kanalea that are planting koa forests. So, for example, with a Kanalea, every Kanalea you buy, they're planting at least one tree for the future. So the tone wood will continue because there's a logical sense in protecting the environment. But in the rest of the world, acacia is a very common tree. It's in the Bible all over the place. It's been around forever, and it makes a really nice ukulele. It's just not koa. Now, that all said, I reached out to the company and I said, hey, I just saw about your company. I'd like to know more about it. Can you tell me anything about it? And they were kind enough to send me two ukuleles. They sent me this one, and then there's another one that's going to be reviewed in about a month. I'm just splitting them up so that it's not 2 straight weeks of Koa Kalane. So watch for that unboxing. I've already unboxed it quite a while ago, but I'm going to publish it right before the week, a full week before I actually do the review, and then watch for the review of that one as well. So while I'm talking at the beginning here, before I get into the review, I might as well tell you a couple of other things that I found out. I started looking online and looking at reviews of these, and there's not a whole lot out there. In fact, the only video out here of one of these is one that was sold secondhand. So this isn't really a super well-known company. I found instances of them going back to 2011. There have been some reports from a couple of buyers that they experienced a warped neck or a twisted neck on their ukulele. Now, I'm keeping track of that with this one. This one I've had, I think, about a month already, and I'm not seeing any problems. If there might be a slight underbow here, which is actually sometimes preferable on ukulele, so this one, no problems with it. We'll talk about it later. It could use a setup, but that's different than that issue. And then the other thing that I'm not seeing, there's one really rather long report that's in a couple different spots by the same person, where that person bought one of these, brought it back to the United States, and then the neck warped on them. Now, what that person doesn't say is two things. First of all, it doesn't say that they took any precautions by humidifying their instrument. And then it also doesn't say that they reached out to Koa Kalane to ask for any help. It just says, this happened, I brought it to my luthier. The luthier says it's basically not worth repairing. And that isn't really a helpful review because it doesn't let us know like the customer care of Koa Kalane as a company. It doesn't let us know how that person was in terms of being responsible with a solid or a solid top ukulele. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're reading those reviews online. But I am seeing also a few scattered reviews of people that are incredibly happy with them and the bargain that they are. And so far from what I'm seeing, I'm really impressed. So let's get into that with this instrument. In these reviews, I do three things. We look at subjective issues, we look at objective data, basically the specifications of the instrument. Then I come back with a summary that also includes a UkeStuff or a UkeGuide rating on a basis of 0 to 5 ukuleles. So let's dive in. First of all, it's price. This is where you blink twice as an ukulele player, and if you buy ukuleles or have any interest in ukuleles, you start to understand what they cost. And you start to understand that a good entry-level ukulele starts around $60, $65 to get a good playable instrument. There are a couple rare exceptions, but that's generally it. Then the next price point going up, usually in terms of laminate, starts at about $125. and then you start getting into the first solid tops at 150 to like 250. In fact, you even have laminates in that range. 250 above, you start getting into solid tops or bargain solid instruments. Then around 500, you get into the more sort of pro level solid instruments, and then at $1,000, you're starting to get into Koa or highly customized or highly decorated instruments, and that's kind of the way that goes. So again, beginning level around $60 to $65. The next level laminate about $125. Well, this one sells on eBay. I don't see it on their website. They do have a soprano version. They sell a 2-pack. There, you have to look for the special offers at the koakalane.com website. But this one on eBay is $89 plus $25 shipping. So I don't separate those in my mind. And when I talked about Kokobolo ukuleles, I talked about the fact that you do have to factor shipping. And I know that people like to split that. And talking with Kevin at Kokobolo, he's like, I want to separate that because people do have options with shipping. But ultimately, it's all part of the price of the instrument. I don't talk about sales tax because that differs on where you live. But in terms of the instrument and shipping, at least in the continental United States, those tend to be packaged together. So altogether, this instrument with a light gig bag, it's $89, $25 shipping, make it $114. Basically, there is one other instrument that I know of that is a solid top with a laminate back and sides that's less than that. That'd be the Aclot models, but that's a mahogany. Mahogany is less expensive than Acacia pretty clearly across the market. So $114 for this is amazing. So in terms of value, this one is right out of the ballpark in terms of what you're getting at the price point. So let's talk about the build quality of the instrument. Overall, it's really well put together. That laminate, I have solid Acacia instruments from another company where the solid Acacia doesn't look that nice. I mean, you don't know that it is laminate until you go on the inside. Now, you might say that's true of all ukuleles, but not really. I mean, there's most ukuleles that are laminate you look at and you go, oh yeah, that's just, a veneer on the top. Well, that is really rather a remarkable veneer. It's one of the nicest that I've seen. That actual top panel has really nice flaming going on. It's sort of that satin, more of a flat satin finish, not a gloss at all. And it is really well put together. The neck appears to be one piece. Watch this grain. The grain goes right through the headstock. So the build quality is really good. Now, are you going to ask, is there a negative? And if there is, it's on the inside. And let's go take a look at that. All right, let's take a look inside the Koa Kalane. This is the solid top concert ukulele. So it's solid acacia top, laminate back and sides. So we're going in, and you can see that there's some glue mess immediately on that bottom brace there as we go in. All right, and as we go down into the ukulele, let's look at the back and sides. So you can see that there's quite a bit of glue, particularly off the top here. A lot of glue seemed to run down off of perhaps where this long brace in the center ran and kind of pooled there. You can see the extra glue as it goes up. And there's your bridge plate that runs all along the ukulele horizontally. And then you just have one support down the center. So that's the inside. It's also important to note that this is where you can see the laminate nature of the wood. The outside is really quite convincing of being solid acacia. Some of it actually looks better than some of the actual acacia I've seen other companies use, but you can see the laminate pattern on the sides, on the inside, even though it doesn't look like it on the outside. All right, let's go look at the upper bout of the instrument. All right, taking a look up here, there's the brace across the top. You can see some glue there, and then some glue on the bottom. And you can see that the label is kind of coming up right there. And there is your neck block. And again, you can see the laminate pattern on the inside and on the bottom. So that's our look at the inside of the Koa Kalane ukulele. All right, so we're back. So you can see really it's well made on the inside, but there's glue everywhere. So if you're bothered by that, even though you can't really see it as you look in there, then that's something to be aware of. I don't think that that glue is going to impact the sound very much at all, but just so you're aware that it is kind of a messy build on the inside, whereas the outside is rather amazing. The appearance, it's just attractive. Now, some people are going to get on Koa Kalane for this logo, and I've actually seen some of that talk on the interwebs. And with that, people say they're trying to imitate Kamaka. Well, I'm not bothered by it for a couple reasons. First of all, it doesn't say KK, although it does have a K on it, but the name of the company is Koa Kalane. And if anything, Koa Kalane, 2 Ks, would be fitting to me, but they have kind of a backwards C and a K, and that logo appears also in the sound hole, but it also says Koa Kalane on it. And then, of course, you got the Honu Eternals right there as well on a lot of their products. So that doesn't bother me. I think it's attractive. It's even got the Acacia fretboard, which is quite nice, and 3 front side position markers, and interestingly, just 1 side position marker. And if I remember right, that would be like a Kamaka. So in some ways it's like that, but I would compare this model more to a Koa Aloha, both in terms of appearance and even getting towards sound. So therefore, in appearance, I think it looks really nice, and the turtles don't bother me at all. And they do have a couple models without turtles, but I'm not sure if they have that in the solid top or not. So in terms of availability, when I looked on eBay, they only list 2 of these as being available, but they could definitely have more in stock. I just don't know. So unlike some other companies that you know that they're always shipping or whatever, I did read a little bit that these all came in at the end, I think, of 2019. And so that their current stock is still waiting to be supplied. That was in their FAQ about things. So there are newer models coming at some point, but these are in stock. But for the rating of availability, I did knock it down a little bit, just not knowing how many are in stock, if this would become like a hot item. In terms of playability, overall, I really like it. It has a more narrow nut that is smaller than 35 millimeters, but the spacing is approaching that of a 35 millimeter nut. So it's very comfortable for me to play. What really knocks me out is how comfortable this neck is. It has a really thin profile at the top where you play a lot of your chords, so it's really comfortable to hold. I mean, it's up there with the most comfortable that I own up there. And then it kind of rounds out a little more as you get towards the body, but that neck is amazing. Just highest possible marks there. Where we lose it a little bit is that the action is a little high. And I think in terms of sound quality, which we'll get to next, that also has an impact on intonation a little bit. Overall, I think the sound quality is excellent. Again, I'd like different strings. These are sort of Aquilas. Not sure if they're Aquilas or another white nylon imitation, which there are plenty of out there. But again, I like bright ukuleles. It's still ringing, by the way. It sounds throughout the register. I hear a G in the overtone just popping out, and it has lots of sustain. It has some warmth and depth that you'd expect of Acacia, but a little more brightness that I'm used to with Acacia instruments, and I think it's really, really excellent sound for a solid top ukulele. A solid ukulele, fully solid, will have a little different tone quality. So you would say, does it sound as good as a full solid ukulele? My answer is it sounds better than some that I've heard, but there are going to be other solid ukuleles that will sound even better yet. But it certainly sounds better than almost any laminate that I've played, just in its current state without any tweaks of setup or different strings. The volume isn't massive. That's one thing that makes it different than a Koaloha. For some reason, Koalohas tend to be like pegged out on the volume scale if you want to. You can play it pretty hard and you won't overdrive it. I find that with a lot of my Acacia instruments is that they're really hard to overdrive in sound. The wood just really reins it in that you can play really hard and still not overdrive the instrument. Now, one of the things I like to do is I like to use the app Tonal Energy Tuner to let you see what's happening with the sound. It's a harmonic energy analysis, and you can see what's happening with the original first strum of the instrument and then what happens with the sustain. All right, so I'm going to play a C chord, and you can hear what's happening with the sound. So what you're seeing is a lot of activation across the entire frequency at the initial point of the strum, and then a lot of sustain with actually quite a few notes sustaining over time. All right, let's get into the details of the instrument. It is a concert scale instrument. It is 15.25 inches from nut to saddle, so slightly larger, than a traditional concert. It has 17 frets, 14 to the body. It has one single side position marker, and its body style is a traditional double-bowed ukulele. The soundboard is solid acacia, nice and resonant, and the body's made of laminate acacia again, which I think just really looks like a real solid wood instrument. The fretboard is also made of acacia. The bridge is made of acacia, and it is a kind of a diminutive bridge. It's smaller with what we'd call a slotted bridge that's easy for string changes. It does not have a radius fretboard. The nut and saddle are bone, and it is not a compensated saddle down there. The finish is a satin finish. Its overall length is 24.25 inches from tip to tail, and it weighs 1 pound, 3.7 ounces. In terms of balance, it's pretty well balanced, and the tuner type is open geared. The action at the first fret is around 0.75 millimeters, so it's high, and I'll be working to bring that down a little bit. And the action at the 12th is 3 millimeters, so it's high as well. So ultimately, this instrument will benefit from a setup. The nut width is 33.82 millimeters. That's really a narrow nut, but its spacing overall approaches a 35 millimeter nut. So it's 8.28 millimeters between the strings at the first fret. It's 28.93 from G to A, which again is right in the heart of 35 millimeter nut territory. So I guess that means you don't have a whole lot of space on the sides. Now I also like to check the depth of the neck, and I just use the third fret as sort of an indicator. No special reason, it just seemed to be a good place to measure. So it's 19.15 millimeters from the top of the strings, which actually that action is going to go down, to the bottom of the neck. So that profile at the top is, again, I really like that about this instrument. So with all that said, let's summarize the instrument. You might be thinking, a solid top Acacia instrument? From what company? For how much money? That can't be real. No, it is. It is, and I'm holding it as proof. There's a couple more things I'll tell you about the company in just a second, but my reaction to was skeptical, and that's why I reached out, and they have just been lovely to communicate with. Oh, I forgot to mention that the company is actually located in Hawaii, so they import parts from around the world and then assemble the ukuleles there. Now, I have an idea that the body and neck and fretboard are assembled, but then they're putting in hardware strings and perhaps nut and saddle when it arrives. I don't know. I haven't seen the setup, and I haven't asked for those details yet of the instrument. But they sent me 2 of these, again, to review with the instructions to give one away to one of my students. I teach ukulele to my 5th grade students, and that is a wonderful act and a wonderful gift that I can share with them. It's probably going to be this one, and the reason why is because the solid top Acacia versus a solid body Acacia is probably going to be easier for them to care for. And I might even be looking at buying a case to add with it, because this one really deserves a case. So I'll make sure they have a humidifier and a case when they get this one as well. Um, Ultimately, this is a gorgeous ukulele. On the outside, it's just unbelievable. On the inside, yeah, there's a glue mess on the inside there. Now, I don't know where you can currently buy these in Hawaii, but again, they're definitely available from koakalane.com. So let's wrap it up with a score. I rate ukuleles from 0 to 5 ukuleles. This one on external looks and sound and that great neck is really excellent. So yeah, it's got glue mess on the inside. Yeah, it needs a setup. But beyond that, it could use a case, could use a humidifier with it, but that's okay. You're saving so much on this price. So with the price and everything else considered, but the fact that it does need a setup, the fact that it is a little messy on the inside, I'm giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 ukuleles. And quite honestly, if the inside was just a little bit cleaner, if the setup was spot on, and maybe if it came with a case, it'd be a 5. So those are things that are absolutely fixable. I can't possibly recommend this more than I can, even at a 4.5. No, it's not perfect. No ukulele generally is, although there are some that are out of this park 5s. 4.5, easy, with that sound, with that neck, with those looks. Yeah, all day long. All right, that is the Koa Kalane solid top Acacia concert ukulele. Yeah, really, truly unbelievable. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you're having a great day, and I will be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.